All right, let's get moving. It's 12:16. Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Cunningham, and I'm the Associate Vice President for Alumni Relations and the host of today's Mountain Talk. Today, we have Denise Beautreau, who is our Director for the Center for Student Access and Success in the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity here. She began this role in February 2020. Before that, she got her bachelor's at SUNY Plattsburgh and is currently working on her doctorate in higher ed administration at Northeastern. So we'll turn it over to Denise. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we do that. We are being recorded. I have to legally tell you that, just so you know. And if you have to drop off early, you can always come back and watch the recording or share it with friends once it is posted on our website and on our YouTube channel. So the success of these Mountain Talks, if you've been on them before, you know that it's really an interactive platform. So Denise will talk for maybe 15 minutes, and then we'll open it up to your comments and questions. The way that you will do that is through the chat, which is most likely at the bottom of your screen. Just hit chat, and you can choose to either send it to all participants or just to Denise and me. I think it's more fun if you do all participants, because then sometimes we get a back channel going and people start talking to each other, and that's really fun. So once those questions and comments are posted, I will read aloud to Denise so she can focus on offering those responses, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. So Denise, let's talk about first generation at Lehigh.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Jennifer and Office of Development and Alumni Relations, for inviting me into your space. I am very excited to be here to hopefully connect with several of our alumni that identify as first generation to college, because you all are part of what makes the Lehigh community as vibrant as it is now and into the future. And so I chose this picture as the background for my first slide because it is the beginning. It is a picture of the rally where all the first year students come together. Alumni are there welcoming the new class as they embark on their journey at Lehigh. And it is the epitome of what it feels like to be first, either literally the first in your family to go to college, but you potentially being the first to actually complete a four-year degree program. And so I'm just going to spend a little bit of time just sharing some background information on the work we're doing at the institution related to first generation students, how our alumni can engage, and how we can support our first generation alumni as well, because you are still part of the Lehigh family. And so one of the things that I want to start off with is sharing a little bit about the mission of the Center for Student Access and Success. This space was created in 2017, 2018, when Lehigh made a commitment with several other universities across the country as part of the American Talent Initiative to graduate 50,000 high achieving students. High achieving meaning those that came from a first generation to college background or a limited income background. And the goal wasn't just to get these students to be enrolled at universities across the country, but making an intentional investment in their success. And for Lehigh, the recognition that post-admittance into the institution meant making sure there was full infrastructure in place of resources and support avenues led to the creation of this place called the Center for Student Access and Success. And so with the mission and the goals comes the actual work, the actual implementation of the things that research as well as our experience on this campus has shown us support student success, not just academically, but as holistic support. So you might be wondering, well, what is a first generation college student? Am I really a first generation college student myself? And one of the things that we do is we expand that definition because we understand that it is beyond just being the first. right? We have several students that their parents or guardians may have gone, but they weren't able to complete. They may have gone in a non-traditional way, meaning they did not live on a residential campus like our campus as part of their journey. And so when it comes to the definition of a first generation college student, we expand that definition from simply being the actual literal first in your immediate family to attend university. We also take on some of the federal definition of a first generation college student in terms of completion. So neither of your biological parents nor your guardian actually completed a four-year degree, and you will be that person to complete that four-year degree program at Lehigh, for example. And so as it relates to what does the population look like on campus? And so part of our ATI mission was to have at least 20% of every incoming class be first generation. And for the last several years, we have been at or near that 20% number. And so our hope is to continue to grow and expand our population of first generation students on this campus, but also learn about those that have already gone through the Lehigh experience so we can become better as far as how we serve our first generation students on this campus, as well as how we support them once they've graduated. And so to be able to do this work, there are several signature programs that our office supports in conjunction at times with other agencies and offices across the university. We are very much invested in encouraging students to participate in high impact learning experiences, because we have seen the drastic difference, the life-changing difference that engaging in these activities make on students. It can be research, it could be service learning, it can be study abroad or study away programs. It could be engaging in things like Silicon Valley with Lehigh NASDAQ out on the West Coast. It could be being part of our global social impact fellowship programming. And so our responsibility is not only to share with students about these things, but help them actually visualize themselves engaging, help them prepare their applications and being able to be offered those opportunities, supporting their pursuit financially, and helping them prepare for what that immersion in that new environment would look like. We also have programs that support some of this learning, like the Passport to Success program, a program partnership between the Office of International Affairs, spearheaded through their Study Abroad office, and the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity, spearheaded through our office, the Center for Student Access and Success, where the students get that hands-on information, but also support to apply and embark on these opportunities. One of the signature programs we offer at Lehigh that I've had the pleasure of working with these students from the first summer that I came to Lehigh back in 2013 is our Lehigh University Scholars Institute program. This program has expanded leaps and bounds. We started in 2013 with maybe 30 to 40 students in a 3-week bridge program to now a program that services 120 incoming students, first-year students every year, and supports them throughout their 4 years at the institution. The reason why I love this model of the program currently is because it not only engages fellow students to support the students that are coming in, it also engages our faculty and our staff and our different staff partners across the university for the programs we offer the students, as well as our alumni when we bring them in to share information about their professional life, as well as their personal experience as Lehigh students. Another initiative that the university started a few years ago is first generation housing on campus. So students are able during their first year and second year to select to live in the first gen house and have community with students that share that identity with them and be guided by Residence Live staff, as well as either a faculty or staff member of the community as their advisor and help them through programming as they navigate Lehigh. A few other opportunities where our alumni can actually be involved is the Alpha 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 First Generation Honor Society. This was established in 2018 on Moravian University's campus, and Lehigh's first cohort was inducted in 2019. Some notorious alumni that were inducted in that first cohort of our Tri Alpha chapter on this campus was Dr. Frank Douglas, class of 1966, as well as Michael Caruso, class of 1967, were two alumni that were inducted into Tri Alpha. This is a community that has been created to recognize the academic achievements of our first generation students on our campus, as well as our first generation faculty, staff, and alumni are invited to be honorary members by the chapter every year. And so it helps to promote leadership among the students, as well as community, both local within the Lehigh community, the immediate community of Bethlehem, as well as across the country, because there are so many more chapters of this honor society, and it keeps growing every year. One of my favorite things to share with you as alumni today is our first generation fan club. We started this back in 2018 as a way to engage our campus community with support for our first generation students. So anyone on this campus who had a commitment to supporting first generation students would have this sticker on their office doors. They would have it as a tag in their email signature. And that would let a first generation student know that this is a place, this is someone that you can go to, talk to, share experiences, share your highs and your lows, and they are committed to supporting you on your journey. What we have done is turn this into a network where we invite folks to sign up, let us know who they are, and transform that into engaging activities, both virtually and in person, where students can actually meet those people outside of just the sticker on the door, because we recognize through the pandemic, yes, it is great to have visibility of these things on our campus, but when we're in a virtual environment, it is also important to have those connections. And so that's why we wanted to make sure we built a network out of this and invite those who are dedicated to supporting our first generation students and scholars to be a part of this fan club network. And so I wanted to share with y'all a little bit of information about an initiative that we started in the fall of 2020 at Lehigh. Every year across this country, starting back in 2018, colleges and universities celebrate our first generation scholars. The National First Generation Student Day is November 8th. And the reason why November 8th was chosen was to align with the Higher Education Opportunity Act and to recognize the doors that were open for first-time college students through this legislation. And so every year across the country, institutions celebrate our first generation students and scholars in their own unique ways. One of our first unique ways was inviting those people in our community to share their first generation story. We want you to tell us what being a first generation student meant to you or means to you if you're currently a student. And it is extended to every member of our community, our current students, our alumni, our faculty, our staff, because that helps enrich the connection between us. That helps some folks recognize that they indeed were a first generation college student and understand some aspects about them that may be tied into that. So every year since, during that week leading up to November 8th, we invite our campus community to share with us their first generation story, and then we share it out to the rest of the people so we can recognize your success in your first generation identity, but also continue to support each other in that way. This year, we have some exciting activities as well going on in addition to the First Generation Story series. One of the things that I'm excited about is we are bringing to campus our director and producer, Cynthia Martinez. Cynthia is the creator of a documentary film, First Voice Generation, that looked at the journey of seniors in high school who were looking at their prospects of becoming first generation students, but also navigating everything that came with that during the pandemic in Holland, Michigan. So we want to make sure that we are really looking at community. And so one of the things we're doing is having a meet and greet with Cynthia and the patrons of the Hispanic Center of the Lehigh Valley as part of her visit. And the highlight of her visit will be a screening of the documentary film at Zollner Arts Center on November 7th. So if you are in or near the Lehigh Valley, we welcome you to join us at Baker Hall. There will be a short Q&A session after the screening, but the larger campus engagement will happen on Wednesday when Cynthia will be doing a presentation through lunch with our campus community, sharing about her experience as a first generation college student, both undergraduate and graduate pursuits, and how institutions can support students and their success in that first generation identity. And so I just want to say that I would love for y'all to engage with us. If you have questions right now, certainly do ask them, as well as you can reach out to us at any point in time. We love when our alums and our extended Lehigh community want to connect with our students. Our first club, which is our student organization, organizes alumni engagement events annually. And so we love helping them connect with you all to enrich that first generation community on our campus.
All right. Thank you so much, Denise. That was really informative. It's time for questions. If anybody has questions or comments, Reginald has already mentioned that he says, I've complained for years that if my community was aware of the supports the university has in place for alums of color, while they may not donate to the general fund, I believe they'll support these programs, and asks that we'll post this session on the Balance Facebook and LinkedIn sites. And of course, we will do that. And also I was thinking we have a weekly newsletter that I think everybody gets, was thinking about putting in the webinar form for the First Gen Support Club. So, and Adrian seconds Reginald's thoughts. This is the funny thing about, I guess it's not funny, but about so much of the work that your office does, that a lot of offices around campus do. There's so much good stuff and alumni don't know about it. So that's why we do these webinars. And also everyone on the phone or everyone on the Zoom, please spread the word about this as well. Christopher has a question about, does Lehigh have scholarships targeting first gen students?
Hi, Christopher. So there hasn't been a specific sort of scholarship named only for first generation college students that I am aware of. I would love for that to be something that happens. What I will say is, from our office and what we support is we do have funding that targets supporting our first generation students participating in high impact experiences, yes.
I'll check into that as well. Scholarships can include, like if somebody establishes a scholarship, they can have a preference for. So I'm 90% sure that we do have scholarships that are preference for, but I'm not sure we're even allowed to target specific things like this, but I will look into that, Christopher. Yes, Reginald, it is a way our community can step up. Mike Burney, you have your hand raised. The best way to ask a question is through the chat. If you could do that, that would be wonderful. Okay. Mike says, if I want to participate with first gen students by talking about my career path, how do I do it?
Excellent question. And I love this because we've done this so many times with various alumni. So one example of that is doing a presentation as part of our LUSSI program events. Every year, we have several events that are centered on 5 focus areas that we believe are important for student success. And so those areas include, obviously, academic success, financial wellness, your overall health and mental wellness, community, and career and professional development. And so we work not just with internal campus partners, but also external campus partners, including alumni, to curate events and activities that center on one or more of these. And so we would love for you to do a presentation, whether it's from a distance or in person. That is something that we can make happen. Yes.
Nice. Eric, oh, this was the same question I had, but you worded it so much more better, Eric. So what are some first year problems that first gen students have that may not be encountered by a more college ingrained student? And how are those problems addressed?
I think one of the general things is knowledge about resources and feeling empowered to access those resources. That is one of the biggest sort of broader things that we see, and especially the empowerment to access the resources. And that's one of the big things that we work on with the first generation students that our office supports, is the idea of all of Lehigh is available to you. There is no aspect of Lehigh that you do not have access to. And just making sure that message is very clear to them from day one. And over time, they get it and they start reaching out. They start asking questions. They also don't let sort of a first encounter where something didn't go exactly as they expected that first time to deter them from continuing to reach out and ask those questions. So that is one broader aspect of that. Some other things is sort of extended homesickness, extended, is this really my place, right? Just navigating the environment and getting them to understand, yes, you got in here like every other student, right? You all are part of this community. You went through the same admissions process and you are all here. Are there some aspects of you and your personal life that may be different? Absolutely, but that is a way to connect, right? And you'd be surprised how many students have those things in common with you or can understand and support you through that journey. There are some financial related things, and not just tuition and paying all the fees, but also everyday life things. And so some of the ways we try and address that in many of our spaces is having student basic needs supplies carts. In our cart, we have literal basic everyday needs like laundry detergent, Tide Pods, toiletries, but also school supplies like notebooks and folders and flashcards and highlighters and pens. So students can come in, they don't have to ask us for it. They come in, they grab what they need, and they leave without any question.
How does that cart get filled?
So that cart gets funded through our Giving Day outreach, through our generous donors who see the need to support this initiative. So we are able to crowd fund for that on Giving Day, and we keep it stocked all year.
Awesome. So Giving Day is March. Oh, shoot, I should know this. I'll send it out afterwards, but it's 2 days this year.
Yes.
So double the chance to get. Maybe Bryce can actually type in the Giving Day. I just have off the top of my head, I can't remember. But Bryce, if you could type that into the chat, that'd be very helpful. Yeah. Mike is just asking, thanks. Who do I contact first to do the LUSSI presentations? Would that be you, Denise?
Yes, you can contact me. Also, our first club hosts a alumni networking event every year, so you can contact their executive board. They do have a Lehigh email. I believe they just started using as far as a central email that folks can reach out to them. So I can get that information and share it with you, Jennifer, that you can share out into the alumni network, because their e-board changes every year. So
yeah, perfect. So Chris says, as a first gen student, I avoided singling myself out. I always wanted to fit in. How do you empower students to celebrate their culture?
I lead by example. I was a first gen student, I was an immigrant, and I started college right around a time that being an international student was not a lovely thing. And so I share my story. Even now, there are things about being a first generation immigrant that still impact some of the things that I do. And so I celebrate students. People around me always say, you really go all out. I'm like, yes, because I want our students, I want our community members to know that this is part of you. And this is not something that you should feel that you have to hide. I know for a very long time, many of our first gen students have been told or have been made to feel that they have to do it by themselves. Or who do you think you are making the decision to go to college, depending on where they're coming from, what their local community looks like. And to tie in, the response to Reginald's question, at one point in time, 50% of our first gen students at Lehigh noted they did not have family support. So we're their family, right? And so we have to make sure that as family, we provide those physical spaces, we provide the information, we provide the community that they feel supported. And so slowly but surely, and some of them quickly, they realize this is home too, right? And so they can take advantage of all the things that are here, both on campus, the opportunities that are opened for them by being Lehigh students. And so it is every day. We do this work every day. We are there for them when they face challenges, but even more when they need that uplift to celebrate their wins.
That's great. So Susan Salaji is one of the moderators of our parents Facebook group. So she knows from what she speaks here. And she says one of the surprising things she's learned about first gens is they don't always have family or community support. You did answer her question that you've experienced this with first generation, but I'm wondering, do you support the parents of first generation students? I would imagine the parents have no idea what support is available to them or to their students as well. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we are hoping to do more of is more large scale parent connections. We do a lot more of the one-on-one individual parent connections. And I connect with parents before the students arrive, or guardians or families, like the whole family wants to chat, right? And even while they're here, we help our parents and families navigate something as simple as, I'm going home for the first time, or my student's coming home for the first time, and we don't know what conversation's gonna look like, right? Or I haven't heard from them all week, and I'm so worried that something's wrong. And so I help them understand what life might be like for the student right now, but also the student, like, hey, I know you're busy, but this is new for everyone. So talk to your family and see if you can do like a scheduled check-in that you all agree every Thursday night. We do the FaceTime and we share how everyone's day is going, so that you can sort of calm some of their nervousness about you being away. But also it's good for you that you get a chance to share with your family what's going on and feel like they're interested in this new part of you that you're developing.
Right, especially if they have siblings that may be interested. That's great. Also, just we have recently in the Office of Alumni Relations created a new position for the Director of Parents Engagement. So Denise will be reaching out to you to see how we can support your efforts in that, what you're doing with First Gen as well. Reginald is saying, as one who loves Lehigh, I'm so grateful for your dedication, enthusiasm, and incredible support for this important constituency and helping to level the playing field. Mark Shiner is asking, are there any events centered around the first generation living group, and where are they housed?
I'm trying to think of which house it is right now, because I know they moved this past year. And to answer your question, yes, we actually even engage with Res Life and the Griffins around navigating being Griffin's and also Residence Life staff and supporting our first generation college students. So we are part of the Griffin training, and also more specifically having some separate conversation about the living community and how they can best support, guiding them on activities that they can have, making sure anytime there is something that is geared towards inviting the first generation community in, we share it out with Res Life, who in turn then shares it out with the Griffin in that living space, so their residents know that, hey, this program is going on that you might be interested in, to check it out.
Nice. Are alumni allowed in the residence halls? Like,
no, they are not.
Okay, I didn't think so. Okay, as I can imagine people on this webinar saying, hey, let's come for dinner, but.
And you can come for dinner, and we will curate the space for you to have dinner with them.
Oh, you can't. They can do that.
It just won't be in the residence.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of like other, legal related things that
Yeah.
have to be covered. Yeah, but certainly, if we want to have a first gen living community dinner, we can certainly make that happen. Yeah.
Cool. So Sandy's asking, has Lehigh considered, or do we have a separate orientation or week-long support before freshman year? Some other schools have summer-long programs just for first-gen students.
That is my ultimate dream. I will say it, because we have seen those programs work. We have seen it works because part of our LUSSI program is those 3 days of prelusion-like engagement. And we hear it all the time. This made such a difference in my transition into the Lehigh community. And also, I believe, not just coming in a week or a few days early, but also that support through at least the first couple of weeks as students navigate their schedules, the living space, the dining space, the different offices, and where their resources are. And so one of the things we are thinking of is that idea of what does that transition look like for the students themselves, and how we can work it into more of our prelusion programming, and outside of cohort programming, but also for parents and families, because that's also a huge piece. I know that we do some of that in the summer with some of the programming we do with the Office of First Year Experience and the webinars that we offer. But yes, my dream is to have some on-ground pre-arrival engagement, and also extend that a little bit into the first semester, because I tell my colleagues all the time, I'm a little bit jealous of some of the things that they can do. But many of them do it because they are part of some federal programs, which are called some of the TRIO programs. So,
yeah, Sandy was mentioning a state school in Arizona that offers one, someone who went through it, and now their child is also going through it.
Yeah.
So Adrian's asking, do we track KPIs or key performance indicators for first gen students compared to non-first gen while they're at Lehigh? And is there KPI data for first gen alumni after Lehigh?
We absolutely do. Part of it is because of our responsibility with the American Talent Initiative, but also our internal dedication to making sure that we are putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak, that we are ensuring that the things that do contribute to first generation scholar success are the things that we are implementing. Are they working? And if they're not, then where do we need to shift? So we do track beyond just enrollment. We track graduation rates, both 4- and 6-year graduation rates. We track their engagement through high impact experience and research engagement on campus, as well as post-grad. So looking at the first destination report information.
Right. And Adrian, from the alumni standpoint, that data has not been collected forever. So I can't look at a first gen alum from 30 years ago because we just didn't collect it back then. So Denise, do you know when we started collecting whether someone was first gen or not when they applied?
I think intentionally, as far as having that question be more visible on the application, it probably was right around when we started working with the American Talent Initiative. So 2016, 2017. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to look at that. And I know if we have the data, we can definitely crunch that in terms of not just success, career success, but also how engaged they are with Lehigh. Would be really interesting. All right, just a note, March 26th and 27th is Giving Day. So we will for sure work with you again on that, Denise, to fill that cart. Reginald, yes, we can do that. He says, can we integrate acknowledgement in the freshman send-offs about first generation? And I think that does bring up something that somebody else was asking about being a proud first generation. There might be some families or incoming students that still feel a little, it's not something they want to lead with. So we'll have to figure that out in terms of our registrations for the send-offs, which are, for those on the phone who don't know, the Office of Alumni Relations does about 35, 40 freshman send-offs every year across the country. Alumni generally host events in their homes, and we invite families. It's free for everybody. We offer assistance in getting there if people need that. And they're generally like the first, besides a campus visit, really the first exposure to the Lehigh community. So those are fantastic. Let's see, Samantha's asking, oh wait, I forgot one question up here from Tamara. Are the supports that you're talking about also available for graduate students?
So as far as programming centered out of our office, yes and no. As far as programming led by us, no. What happens is I do work with the Office of Graduate Life to support the work that they're doing. And they are currently trying to expand their work as far as continuing support for those undergraduate first generation students, but also for first gen doctoral and master's students and graduate students in general. One of the things that I know that they have been trying to implement is sort of a LUSSI-like program for graduate students with the mentorship, the peer-to-peer mentorship, but also the faculty and staff engagement mentorship, as well as sort of developing a pathway to resource information sharing. And so we are working with them to develop these things. And so again, hopefully in the near future rather than the distant future, there will be these initiatives set up for our graduate student support.
Very nice. All right, Samantha's asking, what's the current percentage of non-white students at Lehigh for 2023?
For the incoming class, I don't think we have that yet because we get a lot of that information, even solidifying what percentage of the incoming class is after the first year survey.
Yeah, I feel like I just saw it with from admissions, but I'm not going to get it right. So we'll send that out as well. It is one of the highest it's ever been, I believe. Shelley's asking, how do we work with the American Talent Initiative? Can you explain that relationship a little more?
Sure, absolutely. And so all the institutions that signed on to make this reality to have those 50,000 students complete a four-year program all had the ability to create what they call strategic initiatives. And so ATI has some basic strategic initiatives, but institutions on their own have the ability to develop that. And so Lehigh thinks beyond the 50,000 number. So the strategic initiatives we have in place are to complement our goals in general and not just the ATI mission. What ATI does for us, though, is provide information on the landscape across the country, information sharing as far as strategic goal initiatives at institutions, so things they have implemented that have worked and how they can work at your campus. The presidents meet annually to review what is the landscape on their campus, the main points of contact, as we call them. There are several periodic convenings and workshops that the American Talent Initiative offers around some of those strategic initiatives, such as transfer students, Veterans Affairs, two initiatives that Lehigh has taken on, as well as expanding your enrollment of Pell eligible students and what that looks like for the institutions. So they help with a lot of the data sharing and information, and also having forums to discuss the things that do work and don't work, or some of the concerns and some of the trends that the institutions are seeing, and how they can help each other to navigate through the strategic goals that they have set for themselves.
Okay. Helena Oakes is a faculty member at Lehigh, assistant professor of political science, who I believe has done a mountain talk or two for us here on this channel. She says, "Thank you for the information and wonderful work you're doing. Fantastic. Wish I had this support in college." Her questions about educating faculty to be better mentors. For example, First Gen recently told her that they had a medical emergency, and the faculty member said, "Some can handle the stress of college and some cannot." So what are we doing to facilitate more learning on the part of faculty clinging to outdated and destructive norms?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things I always lead with is the different avenues that we have in place for faculty education. One of the more broader engagement is our annual seminar on inclusive excellence in teaching and learning that is sponsored through the Center for Innovation in Teaching and Learning, an initiative that Greg Ryman and Dr. Henry Odie and others have led through many, many years. And every year there's a different theme that the faculty will focus on. And I remember when it was a very small amount of faculty, and now we have a couple hundred of faculty that participate in this. And so that is a forum for that education piece and getting our faculty to engage with that. Other ways that happens is through those individual either college or department/division engagements, as well as going to the faculty senate. I've presented at the faculty senate and shared about some of the aspects of the first generation identity, that a simple thing as changing the language that you use on your literal first day of your first class and how that can impact. And I know that a lot of our faculty are data and research driven, so I bring them the data and the research by some of their colleagues in this space, not just folks in the humanities, but actual folks that work in things like STEM, that have chosen to look at the influence and impact on pedagogy and the intersectionality of our students. So this is even beyond just the first generation student, right? Mm-hmm. And share that information with them, share about the different initiatives that we're doing with programs. For example, one of our programs does periodic grade review. And so we partnered with the Faculty Senate to send out a message to their colleagues like, hey, if your course is a course where you do midterm grades, we encourage you to put those in, because this helps this program to ensure that students are staying on track academically. And if they're not, to have a form of early alert and support for them. And what came out of that was so beautiful, because I not only had more faculty entering the grades, I actually had faculty individually email me about specific students, whether it was, I haven't seen this person in 3 weeks and I was trying to find a way to figure out what's going on, or they just wanted to say, hey, can you let the student know that I think they're doing really well, and whatever it is they're doing, keep doing it. Because again, it's not just the challenges, it's also celebrating the wins. And so Friday, I had a presentation for the College of Engineering. And so doing larger scale engagements, but also being willing to meet the faculty where they are, go into their spaces, share the information, because my biggest thing is we have to support those that we in turn expect to support our students. And sometimes that means education, that means learning and understanding, and allowing them to share with us where they feel stuck or what they find challenging in supporting students just in general, and give them the tools and resources so they can do a better job.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I found just in my experience here at Lehigh that the staff who can infiltrate the faculty senate and the faculty, and their faculty are they're the ones that are interacting the most with the students, and so it's a great thing that you're doing to get their support in this. Couldn't do it without them. I know CCPD does a lot of that kind of work as well. So we'll have one last comment here, two last comments, and then we'll sign off. Reginald says, our faculty has always been a major strength of the university, especially for we first gens. That is true for very many of them. There's still some education to be done, as we heard. Patricia says, I think it's an amazing as an alum to see how far FIRST has come at Lehigh. Yes, Patricia, as a co-founding member of FIRST, I recall when I stood in front of the Dean of Students, faculty members, advocating for the need for this club to be present on campus and recognizing the space needed for a community amongst this community of students. I'd be happy to participate in talks with current undergraduates. Fantastic. It's so great to see.
You got to do a story and share all of that.
Yeah, well, phenomenal. Well, I've learned a lot. And it sounds like people on the call have as well. So thank you, Denise, for your time. And we will send out more information so people can get involved, can support during Giving Day and other times. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your week.
Always a pleasure to engage with y'all. And I appreciate y'all inviting me to the space. And again, any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Even if you just want to share a comment, please definitely reach out to us.
All right. Bye-bye.